In this video I'll be showing you how not to kill your Japanese maples by overwatering or underwatering them, and in fact make sure they survive and look really great for the whole summer. Hi there maple fans, and in this series of videos I'll be sharing what I do throughout an entire year on a monthly basis. Please note that these months are based on UK timings, but of course can easily be adapted to anywhere else in the world. So let's just kick off by looking at a Japanese maple that I left for about 5 days. Went on holiday, 5 days later came back, and unfortunately this was the condition that this maple was in. So totally my fault. I believe that when I've gone and watered them all, I've missed this one. So before going away, great idea to give them all a thorough water, almost regardless of any other schedule. It's just worth the insurance policy of kind of doing that. As you can see, the leaves are very dried, very frazzled, and it's not looking very good at all. So the plan is now to immediately put it into shade, take it out of any sort of stressful environment, to be honest with you. So it's right in amongst loads of trees there, lots and lots of shade, and very little wind too, which would only serve to dehydrate the leaves even further. Another great tip at this point, don't overwater. Very tempting to try and water a tree back to health. It probably needs less water now because the leaves are in fact damaged and much less active. So another great tip is to really ignore rainfall, to be honest with you. It's very easy to assume that because the tree's looking a bit damp like this and the leaves are wet, that the tree's got an adequate water supply. I think our perception of rainfall and the tree's perception is very, very different. And as you can see there with the multimeter I've used, despite the bark at the top looking slightly moist, it is in fact very dry. It's not unacceptably so. The needle has moved at least, which is fine, but it's easy to sort of think that a tree's going to get adequate water during a rain shower. Not the case at all, to be honest. I find these meters very useful actually because you can push them quite deep into the pot. So as you can see, there is a tiny bit more moisture towards the bottom, but not a great deal at all. So yes, indeed, we could just assume by touching the top that there's not an issue, but in fact that's dry all the way through. So what I'm going to do now is get some water and top this tree up for you. And I hope you find this interesting, what actually happens and the method I use. So there's me filling the pot completely to the brim. This is great because I've used the correct size pots on my trees, therefore filling it to the top is about the right amount of water. And what you'll clearly see is a lot of bubbling going on. This is really, really good actually, and also the water subsiding quite quickly because it means that the compost didn't completely dry out. And if that was the case, I'd certainly be revisiting this tree 10-15 minutes later to water it yet again, because dry compost just doesn't absorb moisture very well at all. And as you can see there, by pushing the meter all the way through, it's now damp right to the bottom. So that water has penetrated to the base of my pot, which is excellent. And just to say, if you'd like to come with me on my Acer journey, please do like and subscribe to my little channel. It really, really helps. I've also recently set up a Patreon site, so that's a great way of supporting me too, and help out with some of the costs of my excursions really. There's also the offer of some personal help, if you'd like it, either in a group format or on a one-to-one basis. So just focusing on this tree, which is Tamukiyama, which I know from experience is quite slow growing, as many of the dissectums are. It's doing really, really well and has progressed nicely this year. In what looks at first glance to be quite a large pot, but if you view the channel and some other videos, you can see that in fact it's still in its original technical pot. That really helps make sure I don't add too much water to my trees and is extremely beneficial in my opinion. Because essentially by topping everything to the rim, then I know I'm always going to be successful and add just the right amount of moisture to my plants. So just walking through my trees there, some people say, you know, do I water my trees once a week, every day, whatever? The actual answer is that you need to let the trees decide themselves. Again, like the rainwater scenario, you just can't really tell when a tree needs watering. There's different shapes, leaves, some broad leaves. Sometimes it rains or whatever and rain just sort of pours off the leaf canopy. It just never penetrates to the compost below. So it's important to realise that every tree is in fact different and not even attempt, I think, to water generically. The exception to that would be if I was going on holiday, as I previously mentioned, because on balance, I'd rather them all be a little bit wet just for a few days than be dry. as you saw earlier, the consequences of a tree drying out are really very serious indeed, and we have enormous problems. So as much as in my previous videos I've talked about root rot and not letting the compost stay soggy for prolonged periods of time, on balance I think it's important to mention that given the choice, I'd rather have on a temporary basis compost that's a bit too moist than a tree drying out completely, which will cause very severe damage in a very, very short space of time. So another great tip really is that I don't mind watering my trees before it actually rains. That sounds a bit strange, but I'd really rather see them watered properly by hand and getting a really good soaking. And then the rainwater will be collected from my roof or my conservatory roof into barrels. So I'm getting lots of sort of free water there, to be honest, which I can use at a later date. If the rainwater isn't available, which is often the case in midsummer, then what I'd be doing is filling my barrels with tap water. I'd never use that water immediately. I don't like the thought of chlorine being in it from tap water. So it seems a much better solution to me to fill the barrels, wait a good 24 to 48 hours before using the water again. So essentially, if I think it's not going to rain or the weather report's saying that, I'll always completely fill my barrels straight after I've watered everything, so I never run out of a supply of water without chlorine, and just being prepared really. So just while I'm walking you through a few trees from my collection, just to mention that I have in the past used a drip feed system where there is piping running between the trees. This can be turned on automatically from time to time, and while you're away the trees get watered. The problem with this, however, for long-term use, as I've seen in plants that I bought from various garden centres, is unfortunately because one area of the root ball is only being watered, it doesn't actually encourage roots to reach out into the extremities of the pot. So as we saw earlier, because the base of the pot is still slightly damp, if you let your trees dry out slightly between watering, that will encourage the root systems to find the water, fill the pot complete with roots, which promotes root health and actually acts as an excellent sort of jacket round the pot itself to protect the trees from freezing in the winter. So it's very, very beneficial. So the balance between letting your trees get too dry and too wet is sometimes a slim one. But I think this is what people need to consider, is that if a tree gets really, really dry, it's going to suffer extreme damage in a very, very short space of time. If a tree's overly wet, it's going to take weeks and weeks to kind of for really to suffer. And that's going to particularly be sort of during in the UK, early spring, March, April, that kind of thing, because that's when sort of root rot can really occur. So on balance, it's probably better, if at all necessary, to keep the roots reasonably well hydrated, particularly if you're going to leave the trees for a period of time. So I got away with leaving my trees for something like 5 days, and apart from the one I missed, as I showed you at the beginning of the video, all the rest were okay. Now, a big factor of this is the compost mixture that I used, and the mixture I use is a 50-50 mix of ericaceous compost and sort of mature plant compost. This gives me a mix that is somewhat heavy to sort of help the pots from falling over in wind, but it does retain a reasonable amount of moisture. That, combined with a porous clay pot as well, is a good balance. What that means is, as I said, I can get away with 4 or 5 days this time of year, probably 3-4 days in the peak of summer, and still come back to trees that haven't got terribly dehydrated. Now, realistically, you could use a much, much freer draining compost where the water sort of runs through it very, very easily, and then root rot would almost be impossible because it's going to dry out very, very quickly. But I think it's important when you start the collection of Japanese maples, or if you're more experienced and you want to add to it, to be super realistic, because at no point in the summer then, without some watering system or some friends to help or neighbours to water the plants for you, are you going to be able to leave the plants for even a day in some circumstances, depending on the mix you use. So there is a balancing act, but as I've said, as you can see from my collection, I'm very happy with the mix I use in the sort of zone 8B that I am here in the UK. Worth bearing in mind as well, though, that if you live in a much hotter climate, then a mixture that's going to be really, really water retaining would serve you well. Also, glazed pots would help hold on to that water longer. So again, that might be the way to go. On the other hand, you may live somewhere in the world that has an awful lot of rainfall, so therefore a more free draining mixture might be correct. So really, just to recap, the system I use is to use pots that are conservative in size. This helps root health. It prevents you from overwatering in effect because you just can't get too much water into the pots in the first place. Leave a gap at the top that's the width of the collar around the pots, because that really helps. Use a compact mixture that's kind of suitable for you. The mixture I use, I think, would suffice in many instances, so that's probably a starting point, but do be prepared to change that depending on your climate and what part of the world you're in. And overall, looking at the year, remembering that in the winter you don't have to water them at all, or I certainly don't here in the UK. So if watering, twice a week or more seems a lot of an ask, you get the whole winter off from that process until next spring, of course, when it starts all over again, really. And I think it's really important to reiterate that the best thing to do is to use a water meter, work out which maples need water and which don't, because it will always vary depending on the rain, position, all sorts of circumstances, and just make sure the trees are getting what they need than trying to water them to a schedule of our choice, really. And by following a few simple rules, you'll have a wonderful time growing Japanese maples and be very successful with them.